Hi, Bill.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, surviving.
Only surviving. You still recovering from your trip?
In a way, I took a fall and bashed my good knee on a slate floor.
Ah,
Uh, so I got the swelling under control pretty much, but it still hurts. Yep.
you didn't need that, Bill.
No, I did not need that.
Well, I'm sorry that that happened. Otherwise, was the trip good?
Yes. Yeah, I hesitate because my wife had a significant sciatica flare up that
Ah,
last it's still there. Yeah, so she's done acupuncture. She has an appointment with the orthopedist Thursday, so
oh God.
I barely move around, and she missed most of the walking portion of the trip.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, so it um, Ireland was wonderful. The people were absolutely wonderful, lovely people.
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine. I mean, I was told beforehand, but within 2 seconds, you're involved in a conversation about anything under the sun. It doesn't make any difference. They just love to talk and learn about who you are, and uh,
Yeah. Um, our boy Zach and his wife were in Ireland at the same time you were,
oh,
and I think in the same area where you were.
okay,
They were only there for 5 days, but because they were meeting the rest of their family in London,
uh-huh,
but they absolutely adored Ireland.
yeah, yeah.
um, and Hannah actually has had a close friend um, who lives there, so they visited her, and
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So
we had one couple, it was a tour with 22 people.
yeah,
But one couple had family. Both husband and wife had separate families in Northern Ireland, so they were extending to Northern Ireland and really looking forward to that.
yeah. Did did you go to Joanne's family's bar there?
Oh, no. Uh, that area of County Kerry has three peninsulas
Ah,
that that constitute the Ring of Kerry, and you can only do one in a day. And they chose the middle one rather than the Dingle one, which is where Joanne's, But
yeah.
I asked the tour guide, and he recognized the name of the restaurant, because he's generally speaking from that area for the
Yeah.
pub. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, good.
But he said, no, we couldn't do that. It would add another day to the trip.
Why not? Well, Jeff may or may not join us
Ah,
late. He he discovered yesterday that this morning at 9 o'clock was Jesse's annual I don't know, class family something or other. I,
ah,
I didn't quite catch what it was. But anyway, he's off with his boy at school this morning,
oh, yeah, yeah.
and he said if he gets back, he'll jump in. But
Okay.
so you get basically some free time here.
Okay.
So, um, did you get a chance at all to look at?
Okay, what I've done so far, and it's been busy because we've been running around with Cynthia and her condition, and I've been driving her every place.
Yeah.
So I read the the two handouts from Gods. I haven't looked at the video there, but I read both of those completely,
Oh,
and
good.
I watched the not last week, but the previous week with Jeff. So that was good. I liked that. Uh, but I haven't gotten to last week's session yet.
Yep. Okay. Um, well, we talked about last week. We talked m- more about lengthening because he was having difficulty with that, particularly lengthening in, and then really um, probably for the first time in a while for him, we talked about um, including the C curve.
Ah, okay.
So things that you have already been introduced to, but
Oh, they always need work.
yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. I did actually. I had uh, whether it's a question or not, an observation about the lengthening. I sense that I'm doing something in that area with my arms, with my torso, generally speaking. The legs seem to defeat me, and I think it's because there's a stop at the end of it on the ground.
Well, you're absolutely right.
When I reach out my arm, I can have a sense of things going on forever if I want. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a stop, and I don't know how to manage that in my head.
You know, that's exactly the problem. We stand on our feet.
Yeah.
Um, as one boy Bruce said, if we walked on our hands, we'd have the problem in
That
the other
problem.
direction. um, I'm I I'm always reminded of Master Joe's comment or statement about um, softening and relaxing your feet and ankles and allowing them to merge into the earth. And
Okay.
as an image, that's really what you're trying to do.
With lengthening. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's I don't know. For me, that image really helped.
Yeah.
Um,
And, I mean, and I get there, not, at the level you do, but, I can feel that softening and the joining with the earth, but I didn't associate it with lengthening.
well, it is, and the lengthening feels. Hmm, I guess it does feel different in the legs than the arms. Um, with lengthening, well, with any of these things, you have to be careful not to fall into making it happen.
Yep, 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 yep.
Um, you have to allow it to happen, and with the legs, it just is difficult at first to get the sense of that.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, it has to do with rooting. Um, I, I think it just really is a matter of finding that release through the entire body. Because it's very easy, you're right, it's very easy for us to feel it in the arms. We can get our mind into our arms without too much difficulty. But then we, even in thinking about the torso, it becomes a little more difficult. And when we get into the pelvis and the legs, it's even harder.
Yeah.
And um, while I
Well,
recognize,
yeah. What you and Jeff were talking about, well, Jeff, after when was that? Oh, after you did the form, with the pauses, etc.
yeah,
Uh, and he came back and he said, well, I realized that allowing rather than pushing my hands uh, is the big deal. I thought,
yeah,
oh man.
yeah,
Uh, Me too. I mean, certainly that's long been one of my issues. So um, I guess what you're saying is that it's the same deal with the legs and the feet, you know.
it is.
Yeah.
It is, and it's easy for me to, say it. Um,
Yeah.
it's hard for you to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, and it is just, I think, continuing to um, practice
Yeah.
to
I felt, when that session started, I could feel your hesitancy um, to to think that what you had to say could address what Jeff was, trying to get at, and
yeah.
I know it from myself. I mean, certainly for the days we spent in Ireland, I honestly didn't do anything. We were on the road at 8:30, quarter of nine, just about every morning, and
Oh
back
wow.
back to the hotel at 5 o'clock, and then dinner at 5:30, and it just was wall to wall.
Wow.
It wasn't tiring necessarily, but there wasn't any free time really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do anything, uh, and that's the key. I mean, I understand that. I mean, if if I spent if I had spent 10 or 12 hours working on this since the last time I saw you, I might have a different
Yeah.
message or question, or I might have begun to feel something, but without doing it, there's no hope of feeling it. So,
Yeah. One thing that Jeff raised in the last class, or he mentioned in the last class, was that he realized that what he was trying to do, even with the arms, was only move from the scapula out.
mhm,
And clearly, I was suggesting that needed to go from the spine,
yeah,
um, and that's how you connect to the torso. So if you don't get the lengthening in the arm from the spine out, you don't get it in the torso.
yeah,
So that was a good point. Um, that because he recognized that he was only going to the scapula, and I just thought I'd mention that because I think that when you can get to the spine, then you can begin to lengthen the torso or feel the lengthening in the torso and extend it into the legs a little more easily.
yeah. Well, in all of it, the lengthening, the twisting, the wrapping, the
Yep.
etc. I feel it in little moments here and there, one or the other, but there's no consistency yet. So I I may feel the spine for a few seconds here and there and recognize that something different is going on, and then it's gone and my attention is somewhere else, I suppose. When
Hmm.
I will say that when I stand, um, I can be quiet, and I usually am. And if I start to stand and my mind is jumping, I just usually stop uh, and get back at it later, rather than fight
Mm.
fight
Good.
through it.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
um, but I mean, I have pretty good success, just standing and, feeling my body. So I'm happy enough with that. But then when things get added, my attention strays.
Hmm.
And again, it always, as I think you've said, it always comes back to practice. So
Yes, it does.
yeah,
Um, and the thing is that um, I have moved the gods class along pretty quickly.
yeah,
Um,
I'm aware of
and that's
that.
partly because I'm not going to teach forever.
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah,
um, and so um, I think I've said that you're going to have to probably go back and go through
yeah,
all of that um, again and again and again in order to really get it incorporated.
yeah,
Because you need good old separate and then combine. You
mhm,
need the practice time on just one thing primarily in your mind until you don't have to hold it in your mind, and then it will just happen and you begin to work on something else.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, even something so simple as stepping out. Um, um, I'm aware of when I do it appropriately and when it's rushed or there's a slight imbalance or something else. And
hmm,
I may spend a couple minutes just stepping out, so it's, I mean, and
that's
that's
great.
as simple and square one as you can get, but as you say, you need to review and go back over everything. Uh,
Yep. And I'm delighted to hear that you are really finding success in standing because standing is really important. We don't spend a lot of time on it because we're trying to progress in other directions. But um, the Taoists have over 200 standing postures, um, and while we do the 8 gates as a moving practice now often, it also has huge benefit just done as a standing practice. Um, and giving you an opportunity to have uh, at least 9 of the over 200 standing postures in your bag, as it were.
no,
So,
I don't know whether you remember back in the Nagong classes, that, I did one and I think a half before we had to stop that, but um, I was the one that stood
Yeah,
when everybody else was, so even back then, I liked to stand and, I felt that something was happening. So,
yeah, that's great. That really is. That's important. Um, there's actually one of the Qigong trainings I did with Bruce was just standing. I mean that's all he taught for a year. Uh, we just did standing practice. Um, it's very valuable. So are you moving with your knee or?
we'll see.
Well,
It
I don't want to aggravate it.
No, and I would stop. There was I actually watched the beginning portions of that 2 weeks ago session a couple of times, and I started. I mean, I was not just sitting here watching it; I was doing it, and I had to sit down at some point uh, early on. Uh, The pain runs along just under the kneecap from side to side, and it shifts from day to day. So I don't.
Ouch.
I think it's just a bad contusion. I don't feel anything mechanical going on in there. So
Uh-huh.
knock on wood, but there still is, a decent amount of discomfort. So well,
You know,
do
do you get acupuncture, don't you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have it at noon today.
I,
So
oh, good. I was going to say, I don't know whether I told you this or not, but I did a similar kind of thing to myself in China. Um, um, Taking a picture in the Forbidden City, I walked off of about a 2 foot high wall and landed on
Oh, I
my
know this.
knees.
I've been there, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but fortunately, one of the um, people in our group was a Reiki master, and um, actually was Laddie's girlfriend at the time, and she worked on me immediately, and worked on me every day for I think 3 days. Um, I actually had almost no problem with it at all.
Okay,
It was amazing. So the acupuncture might be very helpful.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Um, an awful lot of Reiki people don't know what the hell they're doing, but someone,
well,
someone who really does know what they're doing with that can
yes.
do a lot of
My,
good.
my impression is that few enough people are true Reiki people. So
Well, that's true. Well, that's true in every field, I think. I think it's true in acupuncture too.
yeah,
Although I think acupuncturists are more likely to be um, competent anyway.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, my guy has whatever certificate it is, and et cetera. And
yeah,
he continues to study and advance his practice. So,
yeah. No, there are many good, several good ones around, and yeah, there's yeah, mine. I see a woman in Colchester that I've known for, or Norwich that I've known for 30 years.
wow.
She started out as a massage therapist and then
Mhm.
decided she wanted to go into acupuncture, and she is very good. Anyway, um, Well, we could do a little bit of that practice, like I was
Okay,
doing
okay.
with Jeff. Uh,
Yep.
um, d- did you have any questions about the lengthening in? Because he really struggled with that.
Well, uh, no, not really. Uh, I think I'm at the beginning of both in and out.
Okay.
I can sense both of them,
Hmm.
but uh, as I say, there are a few select times when I can really sense each of them. But it it the what I consider is that I'm really lengthening. Those are kind of few and far between so far.
Hmm.
But I can feel a drawing in um,
Oh, good.
for the lengthening in. I don't like I certainly can take instruction, but I don't have any question, right now specifically.
Okay. So I will just pause for a few seconds at each out and in.
Okay. Okay.
um, just and one of the things I think I said this to Jeff too on one video or another. Um, One of the things, of course, to remember is that actually it is constantly going out and in
Right.
and out. It's not out hold, in
Right.
hold.
Right.
um, and I know you know that. I just
Yeah. I'll tell you a little secret. With rapping,
yeah.
I when I get into bed at night,
Uh-huh.
I practice rapping.
Huh.
Um, and I think I can really feel it there, much more so than standing or doing any, Qigong or Tai Chi. Uh, but what I feel is that it's going both directions at once.
Hmm. It
So,
is.
I mean, I understand it from that point of view. And, the rapping, believe it or not, is the one one place where it really does seem to be working for me. Yeah. So,
That's interesting. That's often one of the harder ones for most people.
well, I will be different.
Yeah, you will be different. That's just fine, too. Okay, so let's play a little bit of this.
Okay.
Um, actually, maybe we should uh, do the eight gates first,
Okay.
simply because that's really the easiest place to work with it.
Mhm.
Because as you know, it's the consistent timing, and we're not rushing from one posture to another. It gets
Right.
much more difficult when we get into the form
Right.
because it's not out in. Sometimes it's in out. Sometimes it's in out. So it's yeah, it's confusing. Can be confusing. So let's do the eight gates, and we'll just do brief pauses because that's pretty clear, I think, in that. So
Okay.
stepping out, coming into center and just taking that moment of standing in that basic posture. Being aware of your structure. Really very aware of softening the feet and ankles and having that sense of merging downward into the earth. But at the same time extending upward and connecting to the heavens. And then extending your mind through your body. Because since we're really focusing on lengthening at the moment, we need to really begin to feel into the body and feel the connective tissue. And then as we begin, we are actually lengthening in, pause, and lengthening out. And just feel that. And lengthen in, and lengthen out. Feel the difference. Feel the spring back of lengthening in. And lengthening out, release. Lengthen in. Lengthen out. Try to feel that all the way to the spine. Lengthen in. Lengthen out. Lengthen in. Lengthen out. Feel it move through the body, through the torso, in and out. The C curve really helps that. In and out. In and out. Try not to let things tighten up. In and out. Release, not tighten, not push. In in and out. In and out. Really a good time to be aware that as you go in and as you go out, in each movement you're staying on the sidelines when that's appropriate. In and out. 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 And in and out. Release. In, spring back. Out, release out, allow it to go out. In and out. Be very aware as you go in and out that you are not tightening up the qua. Let the qua stay open and movable. Lengthening in. Lengthening out. As you allow the qua to move, feel it move, the energy move through your legs. Coming in from the earth, up the body, out, connecting downward. In out. In out. Every part of the body springing back to the center and releasing out to the 5 points. Let go. In and out. and out. In and out. Was that too hard on your knee?
No, no,
Good.
that's good. I always, when I begin, it's still a, I won't say struggle, but I do have to be cognizant of holding my pelvis
Hmm.
and my shoulders.
Yep.
So those are the first two things that I try to relax and, let go of.
Good.
Um, and I'm usually able to do that right away. But then interestingly, at some point along the way, there's another release that comes automatically without my trying. And it usually uh, surprises me or amuses me or whatever that I thought I was relaxed and open and there's a whole new layer. And that may
Yeah.
happen twice, let's say during the eight gates that I feel an additional letting go,
Hmm. Good.
for what it's worth.
That's worth a lot. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? When you have that, um, oh yeah, there's another level here, another
Yeah.
layer.
Yeah.
Um, and the thing we discover is that there are even more.
Yeah. And that's the exciting part,
Yeah.
something to look forward to. So,
Um, we are so inclined to be goal oriented that we forget that we can just keep on progressing for forever.
yeah.
And that we're not looking for some random goal where we're going to stop,
Yeah.
or at least ideally not.
No, yeah.
So, any any other questions or thoughts there?
Um, I'm thinking. I don't think so. I felt pretty good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
How did your legs feel?
Um, they relaxed right away. The rooting into the earth and the softening down in that area seemed to happen. Um, the movement, the sense of movement of energy up and down came and went during the
Hmm.
Qigong, but I could sense it. And that's, as I was saying, that's been true of just about any angle of this that you want to bring up. I have felt it, so I know what it's about, at least in a rudimentary way.
Yeah.
Um, but I haven't, admittedly, obviously, haven't practiced enough for it to become consistent.
Yep. Okay. Good. I, you know what you need to do.
Yes, no, yeah,
You just need another life. That's
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I understand. I mean, you say it every week, as you should, and then it's up to us. To do it. I mean, there are no words that you can do it at a certain point. So I understand that. Yeah.
So, you want to do some of the form
Okay. Yeah.
and with the same kind of awareness.
Okay.
Um, yeah, good. So, particularly with the form, you want to just stand for a while and actually, ideally, begin to feel that lengthening both out and in. And just try to be aware of its happening. Not so much that you're doing it, but that you're allowing it to happen. And then when you begin Taiji, you're lengthening out into that right leg. And then lengthening in and then out to palm. And in and out to G. and then in to Lu, and in a little more at the beginning of on, and then out to on. And then in, out to pum, in, out to G, in to Lu, and then in a little more at the beginning of on, and out to on. And then in, out onto that right foot, in, resetting, and out to single whip. And then in, and out to pull down, and in, turning, out, embrace, in, out, shoulder, in, out, in, Lu, in a little more, on, just pause there. questions in there?
No, it's helpful for me to do it slowly. I mean, just the speed alone is a help.
Yeah.
Um, uh, time to It gives time to observe, you know, you know,
Yes.
everything that's going on. And what happened this time with me was that I realized that in Sparrow's Tail, my shoulders were tensed up. Um,
Ah,
in the left, and I tried to, relax them on the right side, and I think it worked a little bit better. Um,
good.
it seemed to help me just allow the on, sequence to happen, rather than to push my hands, so.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's something I have to work on, but it seemed to come this morning a little bit. Yeah. So,
Yeah. It. I think um, taking some time to do some of this practice, and maybe not even doing the whole form,
yeah.
um, and giving yourself the time to um, allow all of these things to happen, and also allow you to observe where you are. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's a wonderful time to say, oh yeah, well, my hands actually are a little higher than they need to be, or
Right.
they've
Exactly. Yeah.
drifted into the center, or whatever.
Yeah.
So even position, you can be aware of whether you're also twisting and bending. Um, it's all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, taking the time for the lengthening can let you also sort of look at other things as well.
I agree.
Yep. So I kind of feel like that's probably enough at the moment.
Yeah. I agreed. Yeah.
It's nice to have you back, and
Well, thank you. It's nice to be back. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, I'm sorry your trip was not
Uh,
a little more
well,
comfortable for both of you,
yeah. Yeah.
but
No, that it did color our experience a bit. But Ireland is certainly green.
well, that's good.
Uh, and the brown bread is certainly delicious. And
Uh,
so is the Guinness. Yeah.
I'm sure it's better over there than it is here.
Yes, out of a tap is can't be beat.
Good, good. Well, have a good week. Oh no,
Okay.
good 24 hours. I'll see you tomorrow
24
morning.
hours. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. Yep.
Take care.
Yep. You too.